let us get going. A huge welcome to everybody, and I'm particularly excited today because we are launching the partnership with Building People and Barbour ABI, which has resulted in many rather wonderful activities, but this one is particularly close to my heart, and it is the Building People Interactive EDI, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Careers Map. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Building People, about the rationale and the opportunities and the challenges around the map. Before I do that, I think one of the most important things is to introduce the panel. I'm hugely grateful to all four of you for joining me today. A brief introduction to the panel, and then, as I say, we're going to go into sort of the main explanation about the map. But first of all, a big hello to Claire Addy, who's Partnerships Manager at Causeway Education. We have Vicky Thorburn, Board Member from Building Equality, the fabulous Robert Baker from Barbour ABI, and Shanaz Chenya, who is the CEO of Youth Build Ventures UK. And all four will be talking about their experience of using the map, the importance they see, obviously ascribed to the map. And I'm going to particularly be grilling Rob on his experience of developing the map. Obviously, we'll be talking through and showing what we've achieved. So a little bit about Building People. We are a hub for equity, diversity, inclusion in the built environment. We bring people, organisations and careers opportunities together with a focus on underrepresented audiences. We enable connections, quite simply, between industry demand and diverse supply. It's all about bringing together the individuals that our sector needs to enable the sector to become more inclusive, to innovate more, to achieve more, to actually deliver more, to be the sector we all want it to be. When I founded Building People, my vision was of just a simple way of bringing all of these amazing organisations that exist to deliver services to diverse and underrepresented audiences, and making access to these organisations more simple. And my visualisation was a map, which for those of you that know me, I am not a tech person, I'm not a commercial person. And in fact, I think I'm probably not a particularly organised person because I don't even think I've introduced myself. Rebecca Lovelace, founder, chief dot joiner at Building People. The real challenge with the map is that there are so many organisations that operate within the built environment space that provide training, support, mentoring, advice, guidance to individuals that come from diverse, underrepresented backgrounds. But how do we find them? The sector is hugely fragmented. And this to me was both the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity. It's about enabling the individual to access these organisations that can help. It's about supporting the organisations to find similar organisations. How can we collaborate? Where are the opportunities? Where are the gaps? What's missing? It's also about helping business to understand where are these organisations that can help us. You know, for example, a contractor wins some work in a different part of the country, wants to engage, needs to engage with individuals from underrepresented backgrounds. How do they find them? These are the organisations that can help. So fundamentally, because the sector is very, very fragmented, there doesn't exist this one-stop shop that brings together a real focus on equity, diversity, inclusion, which is what Building People is, which is where we are going. So the aim is to be the centre of excellence for EDI in the built environment. So I'm going to come onto the map now, and I think probably the first way to do this is to thank the brilliant Rob Baker that actually created the map. And Rob, what would be really helpful, certainly for me, is I think if you look at my job title, Chief Dot Joiner, it says a lot about the creative ambition. You have a job title which is GIS Analyst. What does GIS actually mean? And can you just tell us a little bit about creating the map, how the experience was for you?
Yeah, of course. So GIS Analyst technically stands for Geographical Information Science or Systems, but effectively I'm a data analyst that works mainly with spatial data or geographical data. But really my role has kind of developed over the past year or so into being kind of a data visualization analyst, to kind of producing things like these maps and dashboards and reports and that sort of thing. So yeah, the map that I created for Building People was a really kind of fun and different experience. It gave me a lot more creative freedom than I have, and to do something different than my usual day job. So yeah, it's exciting. We built version 1, and I'm very excited to kind of see how that map changes as we kind of release it and as we go on into the future with it. So that should be exciting. I guess I should kind of briefly explain Barber ABI, kind of what our background is. So we're a data intelligence company in the built environment sector. So although we're not kind of classic company that you'd expect in the built environment sector, we do face a lot of the same challenges, kind of attaining and retaining really talented people. And I really think that we kind of see the need to improve the perception and the culture of the built environment sector. And so, our partnerships with companies like Building People, I think that kind of partnership can only be a good thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Rob. And it absolutely is. And to me, this is the perfect example of, here's an organisation that specialises in a really unique part of the sector, the construction data intelligence, and has that expertise it can bring to an organisation like Building People, which specialises in bringing people and organisations together with that focus on equity, diversity, inclusion. We couldn't create the map for you. I'd like to think it was easy because you've done such a brilliant job, but for you, it is something that the business does and excels at. So a huge thank you to you and Barber ABI for creating that. I'm now going to share my screen and just introduce the map, talk it through. We will then go to our panelists just really for comment, observations, conversation about how the map is useful to their organisations and the individuals with which they work, and also how it's useful they can see for the wider sector. The map is the beginning. So it is it holds together organisations that currently exist in the Building People network. We've got great ambition for where it can go. We'd like to touch on that. We're then going to go to Q&A, and I really encourage, again, to continue that conversation. We have within the audience today, within the attendees, we have individuals representing organisations that work with underrepresented individuals. We have organisations that represent more on that procurement side, so contractors and consultants. So do share your perspective. How could you see yourselves using the map? What are your thoughts on this? So I'm sure you're all very keen now to have a look. So let's do a screen share. And then you will now see the most wonderful, and I'm just going to actually reset it slightly, the most wonderful map that we have created between Barber ABI and Building People. As you can see, it's a map visualization which covers England, England, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales. On the right-hand side, it lists the 53 organisations that form the Building People network. We actually have now over 60 organisations, and we're just in the process of ensuring that all of these organisations are represented on the map. And so what's rather marvellous is you can look at the map as a whole. This is the UK, and you can look at where are all these organisations, and lots of organisations involved, scroll through, and you can click on, I'm just going to move us all around. You can click on an organisation, for example, to then find out more just by clicking on the icon itself. We have the opportunity to find out a bit more, ask Building People what it's all about, and crucially to add your organisation. And this takes the organisation straight through to the Building People platform to add their organisation, which then gets reflected on the map. And we've really kept it, I mean, Rob may disagree, but we've really kept it fairly simple, because what you can either do is you can either say, where are all the organisations? And as I say, there are 53 of them listed here, and you can scroll through. Or you can say which organisations work in with which specific groups, and the groups are just listed here. Now, the reason we have these groups, for want of a better word, is that these are the areas in which the organisations work. So we know of organisations that work specifically in the disability, neurodiversity and wellbeing space, or specifically with refugees. That's what's formed these pillars. As new areas, new groups maybe form, we might expand this. I think we've got quite a good comprehensive breakdown of the different target groups available. So you could say, for example, in the armed forces world, what have you got? And you can see immediately there are 5 organisations that are listed here, with these organisations all delivering to veterans, to service leavers, to the armed forces community. So you can have a look and see who's working in the space. Some are larger than others. The youth group is the largest, and I think the smallest tends to be the refugee group, with just the one organisation. You can also say, actually, I'm more interested in by activity. So who out there maybe provides mentoring? And then it goes down to 22 organizations. And again, you can scroll through and see the organizations that deliver mentoring, all of this specific to the built environment. And you can also, if you want to clear everything, you could look, for example, and say, right, I want to look in London, let's zoom in on London. And then immediately we've gone down to 42 organizations that either cover the UK to include London or operate specifically within London. And if we wanted to break it down to say which of those organizations covering this region maybe deliver advice and guidance, we're going down to 36, as you can see over here. And if we look at a target group, for example, LGBTQ+, we find 3 organizations that work within this space, and they provide advice and guidance to an LGBTQ+ audience within the London region. So before I come to Vicky, who rather fortunately is on the panel and represents building equality, just really to summarize this, that you can click outside the map, and this then takes you to sort of the overall perspective. You can choose the activity, and again, the ones listed here are the ones that we know are delivered. There are activities, some that might do, say, internships or maybe provide some form of traineeship, but the numbers are fairly limited. So we've just tended to go for the big ones and try and incorporate them. This is a living map. It is going to grow and develop. But you can choose to search through region, through activity. I haven't looked at age group, but it's a great way of who delivers in schools, for example. And you can also search through target group. I think what I'll just do is I'm just going to flag up how you can find the youth organisations, and then we'll just come to Vicky and to Shanaz and also to Claire for some comment. And this is very straightforward. Again, let's look at youth. And then we've got 20 organisations here, and they range from the likes of Causeway Education, as represented by Claire. If we scroll right down, we then find Youth Build Ventures, as represented by Shanaz. So I am just going to bring you back, and I think probably the best thing at this point in time is, I think if we keep the map going, then we can just maybe play around with it while we're talking. But if I could just come to Vicky first, and I don't know actually, because I'm sharing my screen, whether it's problematic for you having to see yourself multiple times. So tell you what, I'm going to stop sharing just to be on the safe side. And Vicky, obviously you're representing building equality. My understanding of building equality, there's a lot of external events and a lot of networking going on. The map clearly gives you a way of promoting building equality to a wider audience, but also to connect it with others. Can you say a little bit about how you might use the map and the value that you could see it bringing to your organisation, please?
Absolutely. Thanks for giving me the nice, easy question as well. Just to say, yes, I am Vicky. I work for Bureau Happold, who are a consultancy in the built environment, but I also represent Building Equality. We're an alliance that brings together all the LGBTQ networks across the entire built environment. So that includes contractors, consultants, clients, end users. I think one of the biggest struggles that any group faces is amplifying their reach and enabling us to contact as many companies as possible. A map like this enables us to reach employers and also other groups that we can collaborate with. I think the benefit of that is reducing duplication of effort, maximizing the impact that our efforts can have. Lots of groups are, volunteers. So Building Equality is one of those. We do this in addition to our day jobs. So such a powerful tool that enables us to reach as many parts of the sector as possible is absolutely invaluable.
Let's just make sure I remember to unmute. So normally tends to be somebody that forgets to do that, and it tends to be me. And what I'd say is, for those on the call, please do start putting any questions you have into the Q&A. We will be coming to a point where we'll say, feel free to turn your cameras on and unmute, and we can go into a bit more of a wider conversation, but feel free to use this space if you have any questions that you want to ask. And I'd probably come to Claire next and just say, echoing Vicky's words, can you see that that there's that piece around understanding within the youth group. It's certainly the biggest group we have within the Building People network. So we're currently, I think it's 62 members, youth group forms the largest. There's a lot going on. Is there a means for you then to have that external awareness of who's doing what, how you can collaborate, how you can grow that role within Causeway education that maybe didn't exist as easily before?
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for having me on the call, Rebecca, and it's been great to see this really exciting project flourish over the past few months. So I'm Claire, I'm from Causeway Education, and you know, we're a small social mobility charity that work with young people facing barriers, and we help them out with programs of outstanding outreach that includes mentoring, workshops, work experiences to really help overcome any barriers and make some really confident and informed decisions about their next steps post 16 and post 18. Now, the built environment is a focus sector of ours because we understand the strides forward that it is making and wants to make in terms of diversity, and also that massive skills and talent pipeline that needs to be built if we're to deliver, really. But as a smallish charity, you know, we don't have a big comms engine. We can do a lot, but we aren't able to kind of promote our services as widely as we would want to, I guess, in an ideal world. And this map, as you know, building on what Vicky said, just gives us that visibility so that when people come along who have a really specific need, and I think the search fields enable you to come with an actual brief or a really specific requirement and drill down into who can give you what you need and want at that time. You know, it's just a privilege to be featured there and to get exposure to those people that could really benefit from what it is that we offer and from partnering with us. And again, as Vicky said, whether that's an employer partner wanting us to work with them on a program of outreach specifically for their opportunities, or whether it's other third sector organisations that might have a really interesting, worthwhile project to collaborate on, you know. So we're really, really happy to be part of the map, and I think everything Vicky said was absolutely spot on.
I'm glad it's being recorded. We will be taking these wonderful sound bites and using them to promote how fabulous everything is. And Shanaz, is this the same? Because I know you're quite involved, obviously, your role within Youth Build Ventures, but you're also involved with activities at a more strategic level within the sector. Is this, would you have the same thoughts there as Claire about using it within your own organisation? But I think it'd be helpful to understand maybe some thoughts about the wider sector and how you can see the map hopefully solving some of those fragmentation issues.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for having me on the call. And before I even begin, congratulations. It's incredible. Great to see this up and running. And a big thank you to Barbara ABI for believing in building people. You know, it is that core industry support that makes things like this really gain traction and come to life. So really, really grateful to you for doing that. Yeah, and Rebecca, on two fronts. So one from a broader industry, I think as an industry, we often talk about the lack of collaboration and the need for collaboration. And I think this is a real tangible example of how we can achieve that. So just the fact that, you know, even when I look at the youth group from with my other hat on, bringing us all together, where in the past we would have probably considered ourselves competitors, but bringing us all together because we're all fishing in the same pond. We're all looking to recruit the same young people, work with the same employers. But the power of that collaboration and that real understanding of how we've all got a larger problem to address here, and we can get a lot further if we do it together. I think building people and this map really brings that to life and helps us all connect with it in a way that is beneficial for all of us. So I think, you know, if we look at the main issues around the skill shortage, one is definitely fragmentation and the lack of collaboration. So 100%, this is a real great start to bringing that together. Secondly, we often talk about the image of the sector and struggling, you know, to recruit, to bring in new recruits or to attract others into it. And I think just by looking at you scrolling through it at that point there, it's just great to see that there's so much good happening in the sector. There's so much reach into diverse audiences, etc. And I think that can only attract people into the sector because it shows you that we're progressing, right? So on many fronts, I think it does help or is a start to helping some of those bigger sectorial problems. But from a youth build perspective, incredibly useful as well. I think Youth Build is a global organization that really champions the most marginalized young people. And what we offer is a very intense investment in each individual. So, you know, we really are there to help individuals that come through our doors to overcome their barriers and prepare to access roles within construction. And I think no matter how good we know we can't do it all. So being able to reach other organizations that can increase our circle of control and that can do things for young people that we can't, that can enhance and enrich their journey, but ultimately help them get jobs in the construction sector is incredible. So we might, for example, have ex-offenders come onto our program. We have that very often. And sometimes, you know, they need additional support that we're not able to provide, or very, very tailored support. But there are other organizations through Building People that we could reach to that are designed to do that specifically. So, you know, it helps us collaborate even within the youth sector, because ultimately our goal is to increase the talent pipeline for construction. So absolutely, you know, agree with Vicky and Claire in terms of the lack of duplication, the exposure, etc. But I think, you know, it's an incredibly powerful tool, and I think it has a lot of potential. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you. It is incredibly powerful, and I'm a simple person. It makes me very happy to see that there is this lovely map, nice and clean. Tick some boxes, do some drop downs, and bingo, you find what you're looking for. So for me, it makes me very happy. We've put the link to the map in the chat. So I'd really encourage everybody on this call, have a look, have a play, share some thoughts and feedback. We have one question which has come in. I'm going to direct to Rob in a second. And what I just really wanted to build upon was Shanaz's point that there's real value here. It shows externally that there are many opportunities to find that those organizations that can help. It also helps promote, I think, the positive side of construction and the built environment. So who's missing? Which organizations aren't featured on this map that you're aware of? And how can we help spread the word? You can access the map through the Building People homepage, so buildingpeople.org.uk. You can also, and I'll leave this one with you, Rob, to expand upon, I believe you can access it through the Barbara ABI website. But where are the big industry organizations, the big websites that could be linking to this map? Who can help us really push this message out? So I just really encourage those on the call today, chuck some thoughts into the chat and to have a play around with the map. I know what we've created is really very much this first iteration. Rob, are you able just to talk a little bit more about potential developments? We've got a question: is there an option to include a direct message to the appropriate contact within the organisations? And Ash, you're right that at the moment it just sends you straight through to their website. Rob, what's your response to? Can you do more work on this, please?
Yeah. Hi, Ash. Thank you for the question. Definitely, yeah, we can just get, say, the email address or like the direct email address to that organization, or even their phone number or anything. We can absolutely just put that straight on the map and have a button linking through there. I think it's helpful in the first instance probably to go straight through to the website, because that gives the organization what the organization wants to say to you. It kind of gives you access to that immediately. But yeah, to make it quicker, probably we could definitely put some email addresses or phone numbers on there. Yeah.
Yes, and I think there's a little bit of work there then within our network to ensure we've got all the correct information. I'll be very honest, we have a challenge this end. We are a very small organisation, huge ambition, but ensuring that all the content is correct, it's up to date, does require effort on both parts. So the organisations that we feature, but also Building People to make sure that we're providing Barbara ABI with that correct information. I don't think we've got any other questions. I always find it quite wonderful to try and talk and read and share. So do shout out if I'm missing anything. And if anybody does want to engage in the conversation, feel free, as I say, to turn cameras on and just to have that wider conversation. So just looking at the map, as you can see, we've got the 8 key areas. Vicky, are we missing in the LGBTQ plus space? Are we missing many other organisations? The youth group I've explained is the most active, that and the gender group, which is predominantly, well, it's 100% focused on women. Is there, can you see something we can maybe be doing to expand the reach of the map and gain more visibility as to those organisations?
Yeah, I absolutely think that this map could become a really useful community resource, if you think of it in that way, that, you know, it's our kind of, as companies that are using it, it's our responsibility as well to share it with other companies as we grow. There's a couple of organisations I think I've worked with in the past that I'm definitely going to be encouraging to get signed up here. But actually some organisations I didn't know of before, even though, you know, I've been supporting LGBTQ activities for quite a few years now. So I think, you know, immediately it's become apparent the power of a tool like this. And as well, companies and employers who are working with other groups can encourage them to get signed up and, you know, enable that collaboration. I think what we have across our industry is a real interest in supporting people from all kinds of backgrounds. We're well aware, you know, thinking of this pragmatically, we're well aware of the skill shortages across our industry. And if we think about this from a social aspect as well, I think there's a lot of people in our organizations who want to do good work, and this is going to enable us to connect with those groups, but also to introduce those groups to new companies without having to do lots of introduction emails. You know, you just tell them, get signed up on the map, other groups can connect with you. I'm certainly going to be reaching out to some of the groups on the map and asking to collaborate, so prepare your inboxes.
And I think there is something, as per the previous question, just about that functionality for anybody to access the organisation, but maybe for those, particularly within the Building People network, to take that into sort of a slightly upper layer, to have a point of contact and a really easier route into a conversation. Vicky, just while I've got you, but please do chip in, Shanaz and Claire, and Rob too. What do you think about growing the map to, say, including further education and higher education at some point? Would that be relevant? Should we keep it purely focused on the organisations and the initiatives that have a specific focus on built environment, careers providers and diversity? And the reason I'm saying that is I have, for example, I know businesses and they say, we offer internships. Can we be featured on your map because we provide internships? But what we're trying to do is have the focus on, I suppose, those facilitators and the enablers. Would it confuse the matters to push it out to a wider scope, or do you think there could be some benefit there?
Claire, you got your hand up. Do you want to go first?
It was to ask a different question.
Let's
keep the pressure.
I'm happy to piggyback on that as well.
If we keep the pressure on Vicky then to answer that one, and then Shanaz, Claire, do chip in if you wish to, or Claire take that with the next different question. Yeah,
Shanaz, you've unmuted. Do you want to?
No, I'll wait for you, Vicky, and I'll go after.
Aren't we all very polite?
I know,
great Zoom etiquette.
So I suppose going back to the original and thinking about expanding to higher and further education, I mean, I absolutely see the benefit in it, and I think there's many aspects to it, and I'm just going to mention two so that the others have got a chance to pitch in as well. I think one major aspect for us, from my perspective, is ensuring that everyone can see the changing face of the built environment. I think we are traditionally seen as being, you know, perhaps a bit straight, white, middle-aged. You know, there's a certain type of people that you think work in the built environment, and I think every opportunity we can have to reach out to young people and those who are shaping the views of young people is really important. I also think there is a reciprocal relationship with those who are educating the built environment professionals of the future, and that we as an industry need to help them understand what skills are needed, how the industry is changing and evolving, and it is moving fast. You know, there are a lot of technological changes that are really shaping our industry, and to make sure that collaborative relationship works in both directions. And I think as groups supporting people joining the industry, we can have a big part to play in that.
That was perfectly said. And I thought it was rather wonderful that I throw a question at you and we all just leave you to answer that one. But we have got Claire with another question. And just before we go to you, Claire, I'm just going to say, Nick, thank you. You've put some suggestions into the chat of organisations. And I would really just say, if it's possible, I'm going to ask our organisers at Barber ABI to just please put in my email address. But any introductions help significantly. People tend to respond more when there's a one-to-one introduction. So anyone on the call that wants to connect with me and introduce organisations that should be on the map, please do. And I'm also just going to read out, for those that haven't seen it, just some comments from Jenny, just saying it's going to be a hugely beneficial tool for VIY, volunteer yourself, helping to connect with organisations with shared goals of supporting young people with work experience, qualifications and training opportunities. So love that. And just not ignoring Claire, who's being very polite whilst I chatter away.
That's fine.
I just wanted to throw back in after we've had your question, Claire, and follow on from Vicky. Is there value, and I think Vicky was saying this, in including organisations that don't focus on the built environment? So organisations say that work with young people, but they're not specific to the built environment, maybe another layer, another segment. But mull that one over, and let's go to Claire, and then maybe if Vicky or Shanaz want to just come back to any of those points, please do.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's a bit of a question for you, this, Rebecca, and it's double pronged. So firstly, is there any more plans with building people to communicate the map out further, to promote it? What kind of channels are you thinking of exploring? Because it is slick, it is modern, you know, it's incredibly efficient, it is, or it could well be, a part of the puzzle that shifts that perception of the built environment sector. And I think it will be a brilliant benefit to the sector in that way. And secondly, is there anything that people on the call can do when they leave, so simple actions to help, you know, cascade the map and communicate the map out to others in or even external to their networks?
Claire, what a fabulous question. So the answer is yes, yes, yes. So the second question, what can people do, is please share, throw it on social media, push it out to your networks, get in touch, tell us who's missing, introduce us to who's missing, really help grow it. Wherever you are, and any opportunities where you can promote this, particularly where there is some influence, would be just magnificent. I have a habit of being terribly honest and terribly candid. So building people, we've been going really since 2018. What we've produced began life as minimum viable product. So what you see on our platform is not the version of building people that we wish to present to the industry, the shiny bells and whistles that has the data and the user journeys and everything embedded within it. We've created something to say, what could it look like should industry come together around opportunities, around people and careers, around diversity? So this map is phenomenal, but the map itself isn't integrated into the Building People platform. These are all future ambitions and future phases. We do need industry to get behind building people and drive this and fund us so we can continue to build on this. So as you're having those conversations, please do make those connections and bring people together to support this. And just about how we're planning to promote it, I know we have the wonderful Meeting Place organisation, which supports us with PR and comms. We have a press release going out. Our wonderful social media team is pushing it out, and we've certainly pushed the message through our network. But again, it's about what can we leverage, and I would hope to see some really big traction, because I've not seen anything like this out there. And the reason really is quite simple, that to have a neutral, holistic perspective on equity, diversity, inclusion, built environment requires a neutral, holistic organisation. There's not many out there that particularly focus on this part of the sector, on the EDI space, hence why Building People is doing this. So yeah, please, would be fantastic to have that support to push the message out and make those connections. I think, hopefully, Claire, that answered it. And I think, Shanaz, the fact you're unmuted means you're going to, I don't know, I know you'll say something wonderful, but I'm not sure on which. Maybe it's my point about, do we extend this to organisations that aren't specific to the built environment?
I thought you'd be afraid that I've unmuted, Rebecca, because I'm always I'm as honest as you sometimes. But yeah, I was just thinking that when first of all, when you talked about expanding it beyond the built environment, I would say, and I mean, you know, others may think differently, but I feel that's your niche, that's the Building People niche at the moment, and I feel like, what we need to develop is the demand side of building people. So you've got a great collaboration going across the supply in terms of organizations accessing diverse audiences, etc., and bringing them into or preparing them for the construction industry. But before you expand beyond built environment, it's really thinking about how do we, as organizations on building people, reach employers, or how does building people reach employers, for example, so that the people we're taking through our programs have a pipeline of employment or opportunities in the sector, because ultimately your goal is to transform the sector and to facilitate collaboration, and for that to really reach into the construction industry. So I think, you know, before there are steps to go beyond built environment, I think there's a real piece, and it might be a question for employers on the line today, in terms of how do we get more employers to engage with this great work that all the community organizations are doing, and how do we get them to use building people as a tool to do that? That's almost where I'd focus the energy, if that makes sense, in terms of next steps. So I don't know if there are any employers online that could share, you know, what attracts you to building people, and how can we bring more people on board?
Yes, I agree 100%. And for me, building people, it is that niche. It is construction, built environment. So we cover from property and real estate right through to facilities management, demolition, repurposing. It is that built environment space and that focus on equity, diversity, inclusion. And if we can succeed in bridging the gap between diverse supply and industry demand, then I'll retire, which would be a rather wonderful thing to think about. Just a response, there's a question about a LinkedIn post. Yes, that's going out tomorrow, so please do repost that. It will be all over our social media activity. And I don't believe we've got any other questions. If you have any, please do put them in. We're coming towards the end of our time. So what I'm going to suggest I do is I'm just talk through the map one last time, just for those that joined a little bit later, might not have seen that quick demonstration. Before I do that, I will give a chance to our panel just to say a farewell. Are there any comments from you, Vicky, Claire, Rob, Shanaz, on your experience of creating the map? There you are, Rob, and the ambition for it, about using the map, the challenges you see. Any final comments you just wanted to add? Because if so, now is your chance.
I just wanted to say well done again to everyone that's been involved in creating this. I think it's it's actually quite a simple tool for a user. It's not a simple tool, I appreciate, for Rob to have built something. But I think it is really powerful in connecting us, and I would absolutely encourage everyone to share with your networks, share particularly with employers. You know, as somebody who's worked in recruitment for a number of years and worked in employers, both contractors and consultants, one of our biggest struggles was finding the right organizations to support us and, you know, support our goals. And this is a tool that makes that really easy. So I just say to everyone, get involved.
Well said. Brilliant. Many thanks, Vicky. So just as we go into the last 5 minutes, I'm just going to do a final check of the Q&A. No, I haven't got anything in, but it's not too late if you do want to just ask anything. So I'm just going to do a quick screen share again, just for those that might have missed the beginning of the map. And just a brief talk through before we wrap up and close. This is being recorded so we can share it afterwards. And as everybody said, please do help us cascade this out. Building People very much is a small organisation with a tremendous reach and a tremendous ambition. The more help we get to develop and grow what we're trying to do, the more everybody's going to benefit. So this is the map, the happy place, the wonderful map. It would actually be brilliant if I could just ask, please, for the Barbara ABI team just to put the Building People website and particularly the link to the network in the chat. You can see here, immediately you can engage with 53 organisations. So scroll through. These are organisations in our network. There are more actually within the network, but some just haven't got the capacity to update their details, or their website is just being redeveloped. They're not here at the moment, but there's a huge amount of representation. And what I really do feel proud of is we do go from, as I say, real estate and property right through to the trades. I don't think we've got anything around facilities management, but we certainly have organisations working within the built environment to provide career support to people from diverse and underrepresented backgrounds. If you want to search, you can either do a, as you can see, start up with 53, you could maybe just click in a region and see immediately 26 organisations focus on this region, whether they are national or whether they are specific to the area. At the moment, it just shows there is coverage in this area. And if you want to filter it down to say who covers, I don't know, yeah, let's just say, we're looking at the Wolverhampton area and maybe focuses particularly on young people. And then what we see, it goes down to 10 organisations. Matt and Fiona is actually the latest organisation to join our network. And just, again, a fabulous example, works with young people, delivers placemaking, and is also hugely keen to collaborate with the others that you're seeing coming up on the screen. And if you want to search by a different route, so you're looking, for example, to organisations that might specifically say do campaigns and resources, we've got 11 organisations, and what's quite useful there, which ones maybe work in schools with the younger end of the spectrum, and the fabulous Class Your Own, CSTT, again, Matt and Fiona and Moby are the ones to find. So you can search whether it's through an area, so just by clicking out, it takes you back to the UK as the overall picture. You can search by activity, you can search or filter through age group, and you can also filter by target group and again by keyword. I love this. I think it's brilliant. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just to say some farewells. And you all have the link in your chat where you can have a play around with the map yourself. And I'm going to do a final check of the Q&A. A very polite audience. So do have a play around with the map. Do let us know your thoughts. You've got my email address, so please do contact me with your thoughts on the map. Please do help us promote it. If your organisation is not yet in our network, either as a supporter or within the network I've been talking about this morning, why not join in? It's a very, very straightforward and simple process. The more organisations join in, the more value we can add, the better our service can be. We're only ever going to be as good as those that are forming this movement of collaborative change. So I'd really encourage everybody to join in. I can see, thank you, that the links have been added both to the website and to the page. So I am going to wrap up. I'm just going to ask our panel to give me a wave if you wanted to say anything in particular. Otherwise, I will sing your praises. I'm going to start just by singing the praises of Rob and Barbara ABI. We would not be here today if it wasn't just for some really enlightened thinking within the Barbara ABI leadership. They do construction data intelligence. Building People does equity, diversity, inclusion and aggregation. Wouldn't it be great if we came together? Look what it's done for us. And even our social media team is from the brilliant Barbara ABI. So none of this would be possible, and I'm hugely, hugely grateful. And it's just a fantastic example of what real collaboration and adding value to the work of others really does look like. So Rob, thank you for the time you put on the map. I know that at times it must be frustrating when I email you 27 times in a day with updates and corrections. Hugely, hugely grateful. The map is available through the Building People website, and you all have the link, and we will be finding ways to make it really available everywhere. And then I'm just going to end by saying to Claire, to Vicky and to Shanaz, I just love the clear way that you've each explained the value to your organisations and the value to the sector and to those looking to enter and to sustain in the sector. Really grateful for your time. So thank you very much for joining us today. A big thank you to all on the call. Please do keep in touch. And I will just end by saying, please do join in. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Many thanks all. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.